Well, hi. I'm going to be putting on a little screen capture here in a moment, and it's about the upcoming last run of the Brisbane to Cairns Sunlander train. Uh, First thing I'd say about it is that rail enthusiasts will certainly discover this. They're quite incorrect when they say the travelling time between Brisbane and Cairns on the Sunlander is 48 hours. It is not. It is 30 hours. And that the new train, well, the Spirit of Queensland, is 24 hours. And that's quite true. But what they do ignore is on the Sunlander, they had sleeping cars. And the capacity is there. And I've told the Minister for Transport this, that they could convert stainless steel sitting cars and so forth into some sleeping cars for use on the Inlander train between Townsville and Mount Isa, and they could have had sleeping cars on this Spirit of Queensland, and that was what was originally envisaged, but it's not happening. Now, they could change their mind, or a government could change its mind at some time in the future and have a couple of cars built and added onto one set. That's not impossible. And I've also discussed the idea of turning the Brisbane to Charleville train into a daylight service. That's the Westlander. But for now, we're just talking about the demise of the Sunlander, and it's not being nostalgic or silly or anything like that to say that it's a sad thing, because it is sad in a way. Although the train is 60 years old, that's not the point. It's the amenities or the level of service that people could expect. I would just simply make a statement that is undeniable by Scott Emerson, the Minister for Transport in Queensland, and by anybody else who would like to speak up from the railways or from the Queensland State Government. And that is, Queensland is the only place, or will be the only place, in the civilised world that will have train services travelling for 24 hours in which a person cannot get a sleeping car on that train. Now, there's also going to be very, very active discrimination going on here in the new year. There will be sleeping cars on the Brisbane to Longreach train, the Spirit of the Outback, and it's a 24-hour journey. There are no sleeping cars on the Brisbane to Cairns, but they'll always argue we've got these revolutionary rail beds. Well, a rail bed is really nothing more than a modern day version of a Pullman open section car, where everybody is competing to cough and snore, and perhaps there'd be crying babies and other distraction. And I just had my friend John Boyle come back from a trip to Townsville on that train, and he came back on a sleeping car on a Sunlander, as it turns out. And he said his real complaint, as it were, on the thing is several things. One is that it rocks from side to side. It tilts, of course, but it rocks around. Because you're travelling in longitudinal berths on the floor. You've got a mattress on the floor, by the way, is what you end up with. Didn't quite get the sleep that you would get on a sleeping car. And his other comments were that there's not the variety and the type of food that you could get on the Sunlander. You could order a cane cutter's breakfast or some other kind of food, or a nice steak or something, but on the Queenslander that's just got fancy food that may or may not suit customers. Anyway, I'll just leave you with it, and there's a little screen capture, and I'd just like some comments, and you can go to my Facebook page or my Flickr page and comment, and just enjoy what you see, and maybe learn something from it. So thanks for viewing.
Queensland Rail and the state's train buffs. In just a few weeks, the Sunlander will make its last trip between Brisbane and Cairns. The grand old lady of the tracks will be replaced by a sleeker, faster model. But before the Sunlander sinks into the horizon, hundreds of enthusiasts are climbing aboard for one last journey. Alison Horn hitched a ride.
Then it rolled a train, I took in her name. To me it sounded great. When she pulled out that day, I was shouting hooray on the Sunlander from Queensland.
For more than half a century, the Sunlander has weaved its way through the Queensland countryside and into the hearts of train buffs.
Well, I've been on this train about 8 to 10 times now, and what I love about it is the atmosphere and the people I meet on the train from all different walks of life.
We're on this trip together for 4 days. Sometimes we see more of each other than we do of our own family.
It's carried over 3.5 million customers, whether it be on a honeymoon or whether it be going to visit friends and relatives, going on a holiday or just going back home after holidays.
The Sunlander came to life in 1953 with features ahead of its time, delivering passengers in unheard of comfort between Brisbane and Cairns.
Oh, beauty, you won't see me for a week.
You could have a wash on the train, you could have a shower for heaven's sakes. You had hot and cold water, really amazing. You had air conditioning, and of course you had your sleeping booths which are air conditioned as well, you know. So it's a real step forward back then when the Sunlander first came in.
But then, like now, the best part of any train journey was the people and the stories.
In those days I went in the set-up stations and get amongst the Italian cane cutters and their families, and it was always good fun. Everyone shared a beer, shared a food, everything like that. It was always good fun.
There's a lot of people actually who are telling me in recent times how they've had honeymoons and trips to North Queensland on the Sunlander. I might include my own parents in that trip as well.
And there's been friendships built up on this. We had customers a couple of months back that had met on this train and married, and they came back to do a last hurrah trip. The tableland's beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Jan Keane has worked in the train's club car for 5 years. She was inspired to join the staff after taking her own trip on the train.
I did a journey to visit my aunt in Home Hill, and just thought it looked fantastic. The girls looked like they were having a great time. It becomes like a holiday for all of us. Because it takes so long to get from point A to point B, it takes longer. People are very relaxed because they're going on a holiday almost, and we relax with them, and we spend a lot of time with them, so we get to know them.
Travelling through fields and forests with plenty of time to enjoy the view, the complete coastal journey from the capital to the tropics takes a leisurely 48 hours.
Not true.
You
About
get to
30
see
hours.
all sorts of scenery, cane farms, different people with their different sort of landscapes around their homes.
What will be sadly missed are the sleeping cars, and Queensland will be the only place in the civilised world that does not have sleeping cars on train journeys for 24 hours.
And some other blokes up the front driving for once.
Thank you.
Queenslander class offers a touch of old world elegance.
I think it's a service we do. The service, and we have the signature dish is the seafood. That's what makes it special for people as well. And then having travelled like this before, a moving train with a lovely restaurant, with a fine dining restaurant.
Oh, baby, we're through, so it's goodbye to you.
But like all great things, the Sunlander is reaching the end of the line.
With the future to guide, this boomer I'll ride.
By the new year, it'll be replaced by the swifter, sleeker model.
The Spirit of Queensland brings the train journey now into the modern age. These diesel-powered cars travel at a much faster speed, can travel to speeds up to 160 kilometres an hour. They travel with a lot more smoother ride. They've got at the front section of the cars now the Australian first rail bed, a whole new way of travelling.
In fact, the whole trip will be 7 hours shorter, but as fans of the Sunlander know, that just means less time to savour the journey.
Nothing against the new train, but it's faster and you just don't get to see as much and enjoy as much.
I don't think we'll ever see the likes of it again because it has such an old world feeling, and it just has such a feeling of love and companionship.
Then the Sunland